They didn't say come visit. They said, be here by 9. We need help. So, I showed up. Early. Dressed like I always did for these things. Plain black pants, flat shoes, a cardigan I could sweat through without showing it. The driveway was already lined with cars. The hedges were trimmed to military precision, and the silver nameplate on the gate still gleamed like it had something to prove. CAID Estate. Still didn't feel like home. I parked in the back, where staff were told to enter. Old habit, I guess. The butler, a new one this time, opened the side door with a clipboard in hand and barely glanced at me. Kitchen crew's already inside. You're late. I didn't correct him. Upstairs, I headed to what used to be my room. My plan was simple. Drop off my bag, splash some water on my face, and get on with it. The door creaked open. No posters, no books, no photos. The walls were painted pale gold, neutral, stylish, empty. My trophies were gone. My old desk had been replaced by a mirrored vanity. A shoe rack took over the space where my bookshelf once stood. Dresses, Sarah's, hung behind plastic on a metal garment rack. Before I could process it, I heard heels clicking behind me. "Oh, right," Mom said, not even pausing. "Sarah needed more space for her gowns. You understand, don't you?" She didn't wait for an answer. I closed the door gently, like I was sealing a tomb. Downstairs, someone had left an event packet on the counter. I flipped through it while waiting for the coffee to brew. Philanthropy and Women in Media Brunch, printed across the top in bold gold font. I scanned the list of speakers. Sarah, keynote host. Makes sense. I kept flipping, expecting at least a mention, family support maybe, or logistics if they were feeling generous. But no, my name wasn't on the primary sheet. Then I found it, on the staff page. L. Lausch and Cade, assistant to kitchen. They couldn't even bother with my full name. Just an initial and a duty. Behind me, a familiar voice chirped, "Didn't know you'd be here? Volunteering?" It was Diane, a family friend from their wine club. She gave me one of those half hugs you reserve for someone you're not sure belongs. Before I could reply, Mom swooped in, smiling like a politician. "She always helps. She's got the hands for it." Then Sarah floated by in her beige power suit, not breaking stride. "Mom needs help with napkins. You're good at that, right?" "Right." I smiled, said, "Sure." Because what else was I going to say? I sat down at the folding table in the prep room and started shaping the linen napkins into perfect fans, one by one, each fold smooth, even, silent. Over the years, I've probably folded over 3,000 napkins for this family. I could do it with my eyes closed. But that day, every crease felt heavier. I overheard Mom talking to a guest just outside the door. "We're just so proud of Sarah. She's representing us beautifully." "Both daughters are great, but Sarah, she's really the face of the family." No mention of what I did, what I've built. Someone asked, "Is that your youngest? She looks so grounded." Mom chuckled. "She's helpful around the house, yes." The napkin in my hand tore slightly as I folded it too tightly. No one noticed. Or maybe they did and just thought it was clumsy of me. I stood up to get some air and walked out to the backyard. The roses were blooming, same as every spring. Near the fence, I spotted my old swing, half buried in overgrown vines. Nobody had touched it. Just like the rest of me, they'd quietly boxed away. They didn't erase me all at once, just one forgotten corner at a time. I woke up before the alarm. The mattress was too stiff, the pillow too soft. This wasn't my room. It was one of the overflow guest rooms, the kind with a lamp that buzzed when it was plugged in, and sheets that felt like hotel linen from 1997. I stared at the ceiling and tried to remember the last time I'd slept more than 5 hours under this roof. A knock. Then the door opened without waiting. "Wear something black," Mom said flatly. "You'll be with the kitchen crew." That was it. No good morning. No, how'd you sleep? Just instructions, like I was clocking in for a shift I hadn't applied for. I almost said something. I did. But I didn't. It's easier to comply than to argue with a woman who only hears her own voice repeated back to her. I pulled my hair into a bun and slipped on black slacks, buttoning the top of a plain shirt that made me feel invisible before I even left the room. Downstairs, someone handed me a catering apron without asking my name. I looked like everyone else in the service line. Same uniform, same posture, same silence. One of the hired servers, a young guy in his 20s, smiled at me as we loaded trays. "Didn't know they had family helping out," he said. "That's cool." I didn't respond. My name tag, plastic, cheap, printed in bold, read L. House Staff. Not my name, not even Cade, just a letter. Then the role, like I was born to be background. I glanced at the staff list on the clipboard by the beverage station. Sarah, host, strategic director. Me, support, L, house staff. They reduced me to a bullet point on an admin sheet. I arranged the hors d'oeuvres like muscle memory. My hands moved while my mind floated outside of my body. One of the event managers came by, nodding. "You've done this before, haven't you?" he asked. I smiled. "A few times." He had no idea I'd coordinated 10 times the logistics for companies he couldn't afford to hire. As I walked the garden, balancing wine glasses on a tray, I saw Sarah talking to a reporter. The woman leaned in, laughing like they were old friends. "So what's your secret to making an event feel effortless?" Sarah tilted her head like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. "Family support," she said, "and tradition. I learned everything from watching my mom lead." I stood there, sweat dripping down my back, holding a tray, hearing my name repurposed in a narrative that had nothing to do with me. Not far from me, 2 guests whispered as I passed. "That young server has great posture," one said. "Think that's their youngest daughter," another replied. "The one who helps out." Helps out. My mother chimed in as if on cue. "She's not the spotlight type, but she's very useful." Useful, like a spatula. Or a chair. I kept walking, gripping the tray tighter. The smile I wore hurt more than the metal edge pressing into my palm. I remembered something I'd read once. Some people will only love you if you stay in the place they built for you. Later, I was pulled aside and handed a stack of linen napkins. "They need to be folded like fans," someone said. "You're good at that, right?" Right. Every fold was a memory. Thanksgiving, Christmas, charity dinners, birthdays that weren't mine. My mother passed behind me. "Good," she said, barely glancing. "You've always had the hands for details." Not the mind, not the leadership, just the hands. I folded faster, tighter. One napkin tore near the seam, a fine little slice that matched the cut forming on my thumb. I wiped the blood on the inside of the apron. Later, I stood in the guest bathroom, staring at the mirror. Black shirt, faded lipstick, circles under my eyes. "You don't belong here," a voice inside said. "But they never invited you anywhere else," another replied. I adjusted the name tag, fixed my posture, and went back out. "Just finish the event. You can fall apart after." I was pouring coffee into bone-white china cups, careful not to spill, when I heard Sarah's voice. "This is the part I'm proudest of," she said. I didn't mean to look up, but I did. Just a glance toward the iPad screen resting on the podium in front of her, and I froze. Slide by slide, the deck was mine, the font, the layout, the structure. It was the pitch I'd built over 3 months for a now-defunct client who ghosted me after a promising call. I hadn't shared it with anyone in the family, not once. Yet, here it was, renamed, rebranded, and delivered with the practiced tone of someone who didn't write a single word of it. No credit, no mention. Just Sarah, taking a slow breath before launching into the next talking point. I tightened my grip on the coffee pot and stepped away. I walked straight back to the drink station where a guest was asking for tea. The ceramic rattled a bit as I set it down. My jaw had locked into place. "Strategic," someone said behind me, clapping Sarah on the shoulder. "Polished. You've clearly got the head for this." "She always has," my mother chimed in. "Knows how to handle people. A real planner." I backed into the kitchen, out of sight, not out of earshot. "We're lucky," another guest said. 2 daughters, one with the charm, one with the holiday support. A pause. Laughter. "She always knows how to set a beautiful table," Mom added, her voice proud and loud. "That's a gift, too." And just like that, I knew. They weren't proud of me. They were just used to my silence. Back at the counter, I started resetting the drink station, one pitcher at a time. Water, lemon, ice. The rhythm gave me something to focus on. My thoughts, though, they were elsewhere. That pitch deck had been buried in a shared cloud drive. Years ago, when Sarah needed help making her portfolio look more professional, I gave her access. I'd forgotten it was still there. I never expected her to look. I sure as hell never thought she'd take it. This wasn't laziness. It wasn't an accident. It was intentional. She didn't just use my work. She erased me from it. Later that day, I heard my mother chatting with a donor. "Oh, the upcoming gala. My younger one's great for that stuff, especially around the holidays. She has time and hands." I didn't flinch, didn't turn around, just lifted the tray, walked by the conversation, and kept moving. The donor smiled at me. "She seems sharp." "She's good at following directions," Mom answered. "Useful around the holidays. Like tinsel, like leftovers. A seasonal feature, not a person." Back in the guest room, I sat on the edge of the bed and opened my laptop. I pulled up the original deck. Then I searched for the live stream replay of Sarah's presentation and put them side by side. Identical. I opened my notepad and typed, "They won't stop erasing me unless I become undeniable." I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I started drafting. Before I shut the laptop, I checked my email. One unread message. Subject: confirmed meeting with Vanessa Line. Executive preview, May 12th. I stared at it for a while. Let it settle in. They'll regret not knowing who I am, but I won't waste time making them see. There was a framed photo in the hallway, one I hadn't seen before. It was oversized, gold-trimmed, and lit by a pair of narrow sconces as if it were a relic worth preserving. The same hallway I used to run through barefoot when no one was home. Now, a museum of curated memories. I stepped closer. It was from the family's last gala. Everyone dressed in pastels, smiling as if none of us had history. Everyone, except me. I knew that photo. I remembered the awkward tilt of my head, the way I leaned slightly to the left because Sarah had nudged me too far. In the original, I'd been standing right next to her. I could still feel the click of the camera, the way Mom said, "Hold still, just one." But in this version, gone. Not a sleeve, not a shadow, not even a ghost. They edited me out so perfectly you'd think I never existed. When I asked Mom about it later that morning, she didn't look up from her phone. "It was a better angle," she said. "You were turned sideways, made the shot feel unbalanced," Sarah added. "It's just optics. Don't take it personally. Symmetry matters." Of course, symmetry. Nobody apologized. Nobody said, "Sorry we removed you." They treated it like a minor correction, a practical adjustment, like cropping a stray tree branch from a perfect landscape. But when people delete you from pictures, they've usually already deleted you in their minds. That evening, a text from Dad arrived. "Join us in the living room at 6 p.m. Family strategy session." I blinked at the screen. Family strategy? They never included me in that kind of conversation. Still, I showed up. Hope, however small, is a stubborn thing. I walked into the living room at 5 till 6. Sarah was already there, laptop open. Mom stood by the fireplace, flipping through printed notes. Dad looked at me like I'd walked in with the wrong invitation. The meeting started. Mom opened with a rundown of press coverage. Sarah presented a new donor pitch. Dad nodded along like a bobblehead. I raised my hand, thought I'd offer a suggestion, something about long-term branding and consistency. Mom cut me off. "Let's let Sarah finish first." I waited. She finished. Tried again. "Actually, I think if we—" Dad waved his hand, almost like he was swatting a fly. "Let's not complicate things." I sat there, present, but unheard, like furniture with a pulse. Afterward, I followed Mom into the hallway, away from the others. "Can we talk?" She sighed. "You're emotional," she said. "This needs clarity. Sarah has the experience." What she meant was, you're a risk. You might embarrass us. You don't speak the way we've scripted. I remembered something I once wrote in a journal. Silence isn't always consent. Sometimes it's imposed. I didn't reply. I just walked away. They like me silent. That's how they feel safest. Back in the guest room, I pulled out my phone, opened the voice memo app, and hit record. I spoke. Calm. Clear. 5 minutes. 10. I pretended the living room was in front of me, that they were listening. I outlined ideas, metrics, data points, strategy. Then I hit stop, played it back, watched my own face as I listened. I looked composed, informed, a leader. I sent it to no one, but I saved it. One day, they'll hear me, whether they want to or not. Before bed, I passed the gallery wall again. I lifted the frame gently, checked behind it. There it was, the original photo, stuffed behind the replacement like a dirty secret. I looked at my own face, mid-blink, unpolished, real. I used to think that's what made me forgettable. Now I know, it made me uncontainable. After the family meeting, I went back to the kitchen to grab a glass of water. My mother was there, standing at the counter, arranging cheese slices with the same intensity a general lays out a battlefield. She didn't look up when I walked in, just slid an envelope across the marble and said, "For your time." I didn't open it right away. I just stared at the plain white rectangle sitting there like it belonged in a drawer, not a kitchen. She didn't elaborate, just kept working the tray. Later, in the guest room, I opened it, a check, $500, and a note that read, "Just for helping out. Don't overextend yourself." Her handwriting, sharp, exact. It wasn't a gift. It was payment for silence, for not asking questions, for letting them take credit, for not making a scene. And I knew that. It wasn't just about helping. It was about making sure I didn't stand out. I folded the check back in, slid it into my bag, and said nothing. That night, I tossed in the bed. I opened the envelope again and reread the note under the dim glow of the guest lamp. The same ceiling, the same suffocating stillness. I thought about all the other times I let things slide. The comments, the decisions I wasn't included in, the way my job, my business, my time always seemed to be something they could rearrange without asking. I used to tell myself I was keeping peace, but maybe the peace I was keeping wasn't mine. I lay still for a while, letting the memory play like an old VHS tape, grainy and persistent. One frame, me carving turkeys while my sister took photos with the guests. Another, an event I funded, where her face ended up in the press. Another, sitting quietly at family dinners, knowing any suggestion I made would be met with, "Let Sarah finish." Not one thing, all things, layered, built, compacted. Like erosion you don't notice until the house is sliding off the hill. Morning came. I sat up, bleary-eyed, the envelope still on the nightstand. When I opened the door, I nearly stepped on another one, this one older, faded, addressed in handwriting I hadn't seen in a while. Uncle Leonard. I hadn't spoken to him in months. But the envelope was clearly meant for me. Inside was a folded letter, dated nearly 2 years ago. "You deserve to be celebrated, not tolerated," it read. "I tried to speak up on your behalf, but your mother said it would confuse the narrative. I'm sorry I didn't push harder. But I see you. I've always seen you." It was about the award I'd won back then, Best Independent Growth CEO from a tech publication. I never heard anything from my family when it came out. Not a word. No congratulations. No comment. Turns out the letter never made it, because it never got delivered. My mother had kept it. Not lost it, not misplaced it, intercepted it. I sat on the edge of the bed, that letter in my lap. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel just hurt. I felt stripped of history, of dignity, of the chance to even acknowledge what I'd worked for. This wasn't passive neglect. This was willful. They didn't just ignore my wins. They quarantined them. I read Leonard's letter aloud, just to hear it said. My voice cracked around the third sentence, but I finished it. After changing into a sweater and jeans, I stepped outside. The morning air was cool, damp from the sprinklers. I found Leonard in the backyard, slowly watering the rose bushes near the fence line. He turned when he heard my footsteps. Didn't say anything at first, just looked at me. Then he nodded. "I knew one day you'd find it," he said, voice low. "I'm sorry I didn't fight harder." I shook my head. "You were the only one who ever tried." He looked away. Sometimes love is knowing when not to be louder than the pain. We stood there for a bit, him with the hose, me with the letter. Two people who had been edited out in different ways. That night, I packed a suitcase. I wasn't running, I was repositioning. I folded the letter carefully and slid it between my laptop and notebook in the side pocket. Then I opened my phone and wrote one sentence in my notes app. Silence didn't keep me safe. It kept them comfortable. The boxes were stacked neatly on a linen-covered table near the garden entrance. Gold foil, white ribbon. A guest lifted one, admired the weight, and smiled. Nice touch. I knew the design the second I saw it. I had spent weeks developing the concept, custom journals with embossed quotes inside, page markers, hand-drawn illustrations. A limited run, created for a client I had to turn down last minute because of a schedule conflict. I'd paid for the extras out of pocket, thinking maybe I'd use them for a future event of my own. Now, here they were, in my family's garden, handed out like candy. I flipped one over. A small sticker on the bottom read, "Courtesy of Cade Co., PR." My sister's firm. They didn't just forget to credit me. They rewrote the origin story. I didn't speak. Didn't confront anyone. I slid one of the boxes into my bag. Not to steal it, just to remember what theft looked like. That night, I scrolled through Instagram and found it. Sarah's latest post. Events like these only happen because of true teamwork. Grateful for every helping hand. Attached was a photo, me, captured mid-motion while arranging centerpieces, wearing black, smiling faintly. She'd tagged 6 vendors. None were me. The comments came in fast. "You're such a visionary, Sarah. Love how hands-on you are." "Is that your assistant? She looks so professional." Then came the cherry on top. Mom's comment. "Couldn't have done it without our Sarah." I stared at the screen. Not furious, not even surprised. Just still. They didn't hate me. That would have required acknowledgement. No, they just bent me into utility and assumed I'd never bend back. I opened my notes app, typed a comment, deleted it, opened a direct message, typed again, erased again. Instead, I logged into my company's website, dusty and half-forgotten, and started uploading photos, testimonials, reports. Side-by-side examples of work I'd done for others, always in silence, always under someone else's name. This time, I put my own on it. I wasn't going to fight them anymore. I was going to outgrow them. By morning, the post had another 100 likes, and I was already dressed before anyone knocked. At brunch, Sarah passed behind me, holding a tray of napkins. "Can you help fold again?" she asked, nodding at the table setup. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "I'm not on staff today." The clink of silverware paused. A few heads turned. No one spoke. I sat down with a cup of tea and let someone else fold the napkins. It was the smallest refusal I'd ever made, and somehow it felt louder than any argument. Silence used to be my armor. Today, I wore no armor, and I was still standing. Later that afternoon, I stepped out to the garden to breathe. A woman I hadn't seen before approached, late 50s, well-dressed but not flashy, the kind of person who didn't need to prove who she was. She smiled. "That journal from the gift boxes. That was your design, wasn't it?" I hesitated, then nodded. She extended a hand. "Vanessa Line, I run an education investment group. We're expanding into event-driven development strategy. We're looking for someone like you, someone who doesn't just decorate, but delivers." I took her card. Didn't overthink it, didn't downplay it, just took the damn card. That night, I took the gift box out of my bag and set it on the nightstand. I peeled the sticker off slowly. Underneath, in clean silver embossing, was my logo. My name. Sometimes the truth isn't hidden, it's just covered in ego. The reception resumed just like every other event they'd ever hosted. Guests milling about with wine glasses, servers in crisp uniforms weaving through clusters of conversations, and string music playing from a hidden speaker near the hedge wall. I stood behind the beverage table, refilling water pitchers, watching everything unfold like it was happening behind glass. Then I heard it. two servers whispering near the catering tent. "She just walked in," one said. "That's Vanessa Line. She's huge, like Forbes cover huge." My hand stilled over the picture. Vanessa? I peeked over the heads of a small group of guests. Sure enough, there she was. Polished, poised, unmistakable. My stomach clenched. Sarah caught sight of her too, and immediately smoothed her blazer, whispered something to Mom, then reached into her purse for a business card. They scattered like mice when the lights come on, everyone eager to impress. I just kept pouring water, quiet, unbothered. They're scrambling to impress someone I already work with, I thought. Vanessa scanned the garden, her eyes moving past the decor, past the name tags, past Sarah standing by the mimosa bar with that fake, "I'm ready for my close-up" smile. Then her gaze landed on me. I was restocking cups, same black shirt, same simple ponytail. She didn't blink, she didn't hesitate. She walked straight to me, not to Sarah, not to Mom, straight to me. She extended her hand like it was the only thing that mattered in the world. "Chairwoman Cade," she said. "I've been looking forward to this meeting." Silence. A full breath's worth of it. Sarah's face turned to stone. Mom dropped her champagne flute, literally. I wiped my hand on a napkin, took hers firmly, and said, "It's good to see you in person, Vanessa." Flashbulbs popped. A photographer nearby raised his lens instinctively. A ripple moved through the crowd, the way dry leaves twitch before the wind picks up. A reporter stepped forward. "Wait, are you the founder of Eden Ledger?" Before I could answer, Sarah broke in. "We all contribute to the vision. It's a family-led platform." Vanessa turned to her. Her smile held, but her tone did not. "I'm here because of her," she said, nodding toward me. "We've been negotiating a national rollout for the past 6 months." That moment, that was the shift, not just in the air, but in the script they'd written for me for 34 years. Mom tried to patch it over. "She just helps us during events. She's not very public-facing," Vanessa replied, calm and clear. "That's what makes her even more impressive." From that point on, it was damage control. Dad pulled me aside later to ask how long I'd known Vanessa. "Why didn't you tell us?" he asked. "Would it have changed anything?" He didn't answer. Inside the house, the narrative started changing fast. Suddenly, I was so driven and naturally gifted with people. Suddenly, my time in the kitchen was proof of humility. Sarah called me the backbone of the family. I smiled, said nothing. Funny, I thought, how quickly people change their tune when your value gets too loud to ignore. Later, Vanessa found me seated near the edge of the garden. She didn't need an introduction. We'd already spoken more in emails than Sarah ever had to my face. "I'll circle back with my team," she said. "Let me know when you're ready to close the deal. They should see your face in Forbes before it hits newsstands anyway." I nodded. I've waited long enough. By nightfall, the group chats were awake. Texts came in like rain against a windshield. My mother, Sarah, cousins, old friends I hadn't spoken to in years, screenshots, gossip, questions. "What happened at the party? Did you really meet Vanessa? Is this real?" And then, the one that stood out. From my mother. "Please call me. This could ruin everything." I took a deep breath, hit save on the message, and closed the phone. The buzz started before I even left the bed. My phone lit up with tags, shares, and direct messages. Most were just noise. People reposting pictures from the night before, adding their own captions like they knew the story. But one post stopped me cold. It was from my mother. A cropped photo. Me handing a wine glass to Vanessa Line. My face was clear. My posture looked composed, professional even. The caption read, "Proud of our Sarah for hosting such a dignified evening, a reflection of our family's legacy." I stared at it. Read it again. She didn't even crop me out this time, just rewrote the label. The comments poured in. "Is that Sarah? She looks so elegant." "You've raised leaders." My name wasn't mentioned once. I didn't reply, didn't like it, didn't report it. I just screenshotted it, saved it, quietly. Later, at brunch, I sat beside a guest I hadn't met before. Older man, tan blazer, Friendly enough smile. "So, what's your actual role in all this?" he asked. "Intern? Volunteer?" I looked up, calm. "I'm the chairwoman of Eden Ledger." He blinked, leaned back slightly. "Huh, didn't expect that. You don't really come off that way." I smiled. Not wide, not tight, just enough. "I know." He meant no harm. That was the problem. It's always in that tone. Harmless, curious, coded in disbelief. You look like you serve, so they assume you must. Sometime after the dessert trays had been cleared, Mom found me in the kitchen. She was flustered but trying to stay composed. "This attention," she said, folding a napkin. "It's a little much. Can you tone it down?" "I didn't post anything," I replied. "Still, people are starting to ask questions. Sarah has clients that could be nervous." I stared at her. She looked at me like I was an accidental spotlight, something she hadn't planned for, something dangerous to the structure she'd built. "Maybe they should be," I said. She snapped back faster than I expected. "You have no idea what you're doing." That was the line. I let it sit. I didn't raise my voice, didn't flinch. "Neither do they," I said, "until I walk in the room." She left. Didn't say another word. That night, I opened my audio folder. There it was. A voice memo, time-stamped a week before. I hit play. Mom's voice, clear as day, through the speakerphone in the prep room. She's not exactly reliable. I wouldn't trust her to lead a Girl Scout troop. She had said it casually, thoughtlessly. Didn't even know I was in the hallway. I hadn't remembered I recorded it until now. It wasn't for revenge. It was proof. Proof of the story they told behind my back. Proof of the story I was tired of correcting. If I stay quiet, I give permission. So, I didn't. At a press dinner that evening, I handed a small flash drive to a journalist I'd known for years. Not someone big, just someone who listened. "Off the record for now," I said. But just so you know where the real voice is." She nodded, tucked it away without comment. Didn't ask questions. That's how I knew she understood. Later, Vanessa approached me by the window, drink in hand, tired eyes behind polished poise. "I'm not surprised," she said, "but it still hurts to hear how deep it runs." I nodded, took a sip of water. "I'm done giving grace to people who use it to keep me quiet." She didn't respond. She didn't need to. The silence between us was mutual. Respected. The next morning, I woke up to a message from my PR contact. Subject line, urgent, reputation management. The message was short. "We may have a situation. Someone's trying to circulate an old legal claim under your name." I sat up. Heart steady, clicked over to my inbox. New message. Subject, confidential. Allegation, Eden, Ledger chairwoman. The ballroom was bathed in candlelight, the kind they rented for high-end fundraisers and annual donor galas. Everyone was dressed to the nines, pearls, lapels, polished shoes gliding over polished floors. They were there to celebrate the new partnership between Vanessa Line's firm and their hand-picked network of innovators. I was one of them. I didn't carry a tray this time. No black shirt, no apron, just me, in a suit that fit and shoes I bought for myself. During the dinner, my father took the stage with a soft grin. "Before we close tonight, we'd like to share a small token of gratitude," he said, lifting one of the giveaway boxes stacked behind him. "These were made possible by a close friend of the family. We're honored to showcase such thoughtful craftsmanship." Applause. I didn't clap. I smiled. The kind that doesn't reach the eyes. Because those boxes, I made them. Designed every corner, picked every quote, and paid the printer out of my own pocket. But apparently, I was just a friend now. Later, during a panel introduction, the MC introduced Sarah with flair. A leader in public relations, media outreach, and philanthropy. She walked to the microphone, heels clicking across marble. Before sitting down, she added, "And of course, my sister helped. She's always been the backbone, not the face." Murmurs rippled through the room. A few chuckles. A couple of nods. One person actually said, "That's generous." I said nothing, didn't blink. Just watched her like an actor watches the scene before their entrance. Measured, ready. After the final toast, I was approached by a woman I'd seen earlier in the evening. She wore a green silk blouse and carried a press pass. Forbes. "Can I ask something off the record?" she said. "Is it true that the keynote tonight was listed as house staff in the original invitation?" I didn't flinch. "It's true," I said, "but I don't serve in anyone's house anymore. I built my own." She grinned, slow and wide. "Let's talk. I think this story needs a bigger stage." Sarah saw us, paused, didn't interrupt, just watched. There was nothing left for her to claim. At coat check, Mom cornered me. "You've made your point," she said, tight-lipped. "You don't have to keep embarrassing us." I didn't raise my voice. "I didn't make your choices," I said. "I just stopped covering for them." She looked stunned, like I'd slapped her with a truth she never saw coming. "So what now?" "Now, I stop being part of your script," I said. "You can keep the show. I'm taking my name." That night, back in my own home, I placed a napkin on the nightstand, the same one I folded at the first brunch, shaped like a swan. I opened the audio file on my phone, the one where my mother dismissed me, called me unreliable, said I couldn't lead a Girl Scout troop. I played it once. It didn't hurt anymore. It validated every decision I'd made since. The erasure wasn't accidental, but my decision to reappear, that was. 3 days later, the Forbes article went live. Chairwoman from the shadows. It exploded. Shares, comments, emails, old professors, past clients, even college classmates I hadn't spoken to in 15 years. One message stood out. From Dad. "I wish I had said something sooner." I didn't reply. Some silences aren't empty. Some silences are earned.